Hello again, everybody. Dave Stevens here, live from Radio Row, a very empty Radio Row. Obviously, we're wrapping up things at the end of the week, and I couldn't get Patrick Mahomes. I don't really have his phone number on speed dial, so I thought this week I'd go to the next best source, of course, and that means it would be super agent extraordinaire, one of the nicest men I've ever known, somebody who has worked so hard not only to build his career but to rebuild his career. Leigh Steinberg, super agent, show me the money, basis of Jerry Maguire, and a man who's been really literally to rock bottom and back. So Leigh, I know you're busy. I know you got a lot going on with your clients, but thanks for taking some time today.
So that's Radio Row.
That's it, man. That's it.
Last year I did 71 interviews with a packed, jammed together deal, and that is Radio Row this year.
It's sad. I mean, how many Super Bowls have you been to? Almost all.
Well, this is my 47th year, so I've been to about 46.
Wow. Yeah, I know you're coming in later in the week. We're not going to give away any of those secrets, but Leigh Steinberg joining me here for a little bit to talk football, life, and everything. And again, it's great that you take some time for a little person like me. But Leigh, as we talk, let's get the football stuff out of the way. You've had a great season. Tua, we didn't know he'd get there that quickly, and Miami really had some good successes with your client, and obviously Patrick, again, great successes. I mean, how do you mentor these guys, especially the young guys, when they have so much ahead of them, yet so many things that are going to be trying to attack them?
So the first key really is listening, Dave. It's the ability to understand someone's deepest anxieties and fears and their greatest hopes and dreams. So it's peeling back the layer of the onion until you really get into the core of who an athlete is and how you can fulfill them. And then it's the mentoring is making them understand they're part of this elective expenditure for money, that a sport is not food on the table or transportation, that we rely on fans being excited to watch television, go to games, buy memorabilia. And so they have to comport themselves in a way that understands her under a microscope. So the second thing is to figure out what would be good in terms of role modeling. So it's having them lay down roots in the high school community they're from, the collegiate community that supported them, and then set up a charitable foundation at the professional level with the leading business figures, community leaders, and political figures on a board to execute a program. And then you're looking towards second career. And all I've ever said to somebody like Patrick is stay in process. Don't worry about ultimate results. Just keep doing the things necessary to advance your career.
And so far, the success has been good, and especially with these young guys, because they don't have those mentors in college. They're just told they're good, and then suddenly they're on the stage with you in New York. So it's like, how do you create that mindset for the youth? Because everybody's going to want to, I need tickets. I have family members that I need money now, and all these things that are pulling at them that have really ruined a lot of young careers.
So first of all, they all have good financial planners. So someone has talked to them about the concept of budgeting, long-term financial planning, what their goals are that way. In terms of the rest of it, many of the players have someone either in their family or someone they hire to help be, in essence, an assistant. So that's the person that goes through the mail. That's the person that makes sure they don't miss anything. That's the person that sets up, make sure they sign autographs and pictures and are paying attention to deadlines.
Dave Stevens here on Radio Row. Thank you, Disability Channel, for the sport that gets us here. Ali Plus for people over 55. And, of course, my new juncture with Quinnipiac University Ability Media, changing lives. But talking about changing lives, Leigh Steinberg joining us here. And, Leigh, you've been to hell and back, literally. And I know, we don't have to dwell on all the bad stuff, but could you share with your lowest point and how were you able, to come back? Because, we know how far you fell. and you've come back so far with some of the greatest names. I mean, it's the best comeback story maybe you've ever heard.
So I had 30 charmed years. We represented 60 first-round draft picks, the first pick in the NFL draft 8 times, 11 players in the Hall of Fame, and did baseball and basketball and Olympic athletes and boxers. And but there were a series of events that happened in my own personal life that I couldn't control. And eventually I turned to the wrong thing, which was alcohol. And I hadn't been a heavy drinker for my whole life, but you can catch up quick. And my lowest point would probably be sitting on my deceased father's bed in Los Angeles in our family home. And I had shut down our office, and I had broken up with my fiance, and I had run through money, not in an extravagant way, mostly for charity. And I'm sitting there, and my only thought was where I could find more vodka, because that's what had happened to that's what I'd done to myself and my brain. So I had an epiphany, a moment of clarity, where I said, I'm not a starving Darfur peasant. I'm not last name of Steinberg in Nazi Germany. I'm not, I don't have cancer. And my dad raised me with 2 core values. One was treasure relationships, especially family. And the second was get out there and make a meaningful difference in the lives of people and help people can't help themselves. And I wasn't doing very well on either of them, and I had no excuse. So I found a 12-step program with a unique fellowship, and did everything I was required to do. And next month I'll be 11 years continuously sober.
That's the best news of all. And now I also know agents get a bad rap. I mean, there are some agents that really, don't always look out for their clients' best interest, but you've had a great track record. Obviously, Jerry Maguire, show me the money and all that kind of stuff. But how do you battle when you have to deal with the best interests of your client? And sometimes it's a business, and you have to go through some really unpleasant things with teams and things like that, because you want the best for your client. That's your job. And yet teams aren't going to give you the best value sometimes.
So I try to look at it from the standpoint of the employer and get into that person's heart and mind and see the world the way they see it. I don't think the real battle in sports is labor versus management. The battle is for every form of discretionary entertainment spending. So I would go to owners and say, look, we shouldn't be having ugly contract negotiations in public. They look insensitive, and we're just pushing fans away. And we shouldn't have bad collective bargaining, because it's millionaires against billionaires, and no one's sympathetic. Let's focus instead on how to build the brand. Let's figure out how to do the best television contract. Let's figure out how to build stadiums with jumbo scoreboards and naming rights and luxury suites. Let's try to figure out how to do an NFL network. So it changed the nature of the relationships I had with teams, so that we weren't partners. We had our own interests, but we were partners in trying to build the sport.
Well, it's worked so far, but I wonder sometimes when you get those kids that haven't been affluent, and this is the first time they've had that money, how do you instill philanthropy? How do you teach them how to be good when they've never known to have anything but a little bit, and suddenly they've got more? But how do you instill in them what you do with being good, giving back, the amazing things that Patrick's doing, all these kind of things?
So that comes out in the recruiting process. And I lay out our program, which is to have someone retrace their roots, give them examples of work done putting the 170th single mother and their family into the first home they'll ever own. Lennox Lewis cutting a public service announcement that says real men don't hit women. And I talk to them about a legacy. In other words, who are you as a human being? What can you stand for in the world that will make an impact and make it different because you were here. You have to be interested in using that high athletic profile to do some good. And if a player's interested in that, then we probably go on and have a relationship. If not, not. So those are the types of players I represent. I mean, they're not all perfect, but they have good hearts. They're smart. They are ambitious for second career, and they understand their responsibility as role models.
You don't have to give names, but I mean, have you had to turn clients away just because they don't, meet your standards and you just don't see the ability to change somebody?
Oh, absolutely, Dave. I remember once a very high-profile running back was sitting, and I kept talking about community and laying down roots, and he said, "Leigh, I'm my own charity." And he ran the fastest 40-yard dash I've ever seen.
That's great, and I'm so blessed. You talk about leaving your legacy, and now I'm trying to leave my legacy. And I'm trying to show people that just like I've done in my life with sports, that at an older age you can reinvent yourself, you can evolve, and I really cherish that the relationship. You didn't have to. I came crawling up to your feet one day trying to get through the minutia of the media, the Mall of America, and you just started talking to me, and we've been we've had a great relationship. I don't think many people can just call you up and say hi, but that's the kind of person you are, and I really appreciate the mentorship. You've shown me a lot, and I watch what you do. I see where you speak, and I know it's not easy out there being as vulnerable as you are, considering the persona that you were prior to this, and how humble and generous you are. And so I really appreciate that you've been a part of my life, and to just see the smile that I see when you're around people, and with Patrick and his dad Pat, who I used to know in Minnesota, and Tua, and all the people, the lives you're touching. Yes, you're an agent, but you also seem you become a family member with these people.
Well, that's really true. And first of all, I totally admire your tenacity. I have two kids that have retinitis pigmentosa, and so the oldest is legally blind, and the second is going there. So we've tried to focus on not what your inherent limitations are, but what can you still do. And so it's your willingness to hang in there and see yourself as a role model is also important to the world, because attitudes have changed a whole lot in terms of folks with disability, and we need them to keep changing. So there's that. The fun part of what I do is the relationships. So somebody like Warren Moon, I went 23 years with. I should mention we have another player in the game who's Ronald Jones, a running back for Tampa Bay, and he gained 1,000 yards this year, and he stood up against bad police practices and helping the inner city. So I just root for a lot of offense.
Now, what do you do in this game if you've got clients on both sides? I mean, what do you do?
The biggest conflict was, I think, when Dallas played Pittsburgh back in 95 or 96 in Arizona, and I had all six quarterbacks on the two rosters. But what's worse is, I'd have a player like Bruce Smith, and he was trying to sack Troy Aikman, or I'd have a defensive back like Carnell Lake, and he was trying to pick off Aikman. So, you root for your players to do well, because this is the biggest marketing opportunity we have in American sports. And players who play dramatically in this game and interview well have a chance to cross over from being a high-profile sports figure to being a household name. So we don't have an event in this country. There are the Olympics, but we don't have an event that is this high profile. And notwithstanding the fact that you're look like the only person at Radio Row, people are still writing and talking about the Super Bowl, and so it takes someone that's not a hardcore sports fan. They may not, and transcends that genre, to reach out to uh, people that probably don't watch another football game all season, but they focus on this.
When people Google you and they look at the pictures of you with everyone over the years, presidents, dignitaries, stars, everything, is there a kind of a Leigh Steinberg fanboy moment that sticks out that in your mind you're like, oh, I can't believe I'm with Muhammad Ali, or I've done something, that we don't really know the Leigh Steinberg, where you're like, wow, this was amazing.
Well, here's the funny thing. I have tons of pictures with presidents and senators and political figures and celebrities and all that. But my biggest hero growing up was a Dodger pitcher named Sandy Koufax. And one day, I mean, I don't want to be a fanboy, so
Right.
but one day somehow I'll end up meeting him, and that will be a thrill.
Oh wow! I hope that happens, man, because that's one of those things where, yeah, there's those special people that you really get to meet. And seriously, I'm not fanboying you. Meeting you, having Beth Silverberg as a mutual friend, and meeting you, it's just so, because you are the person that started all this. You are the one that created these contracts and helped these players build self-esteem and to create commercials and things like that. So
What you're trying to say, Dave, in a very nice way, was that I was on the earth when saber-toothed tigers and woolly mammoths were around. When I started back in 1975, they didn't. A team could simply slam the phone down and say, "We don't deal with agents." There was no guaranteed right of representation. So Mike Brown and the Cincinnati Bengals was always happy to do that. And it took a few years for that to be incorporated into a collective bargaining agreement.
Super Agent Leigh Steinberg joining me on Radio Row. This is Dave Stevens. And again, as we wrap up, I know you've had to do things a little differently, especially, there are parties at the Super Bowl that really mean a lot. And yours is very prestigious. And it's kind of different this year to have that virtual because you've had the who's who of everyone. So tell us a little bit about what you've been doing this year as far as your virtual platforms that have really been benefiting a lot of charities.
So one of the things we do is try to educate the next generation of people that want to be sports professionals. So we run a sports career conference. We have a series of them that will happen again this year. We also run, and that has people from media, marketing, branding, front offices, every aspect of sports, and the young people who come get to interact and network with them, and those people talk about their lives. And then we have the Agent Academy, where we actually get young people and we teach them how to recruit and how to negotiate and how to do a endorsement and all the rest of it. So those are sort of ongoing. And our Super Bowl party is always a fundraiser for worthy charities. So and you can see it on steinbergsports.com. So we raised awareness about concussion and prevention and cure. We talked about Warriors Rising, and did a hookup with troops in the field. We did Make-A-Wish Foundation for those young kids, and we'll be bringing kids again, and highlighted the fight for social justice. And so the real key is what can you do for others? How can I make a difference in the world? How can I deal with problems like racism and domestic violence and sex trafficking and the environment, and use athletes and all of our platform to try to make it a nicer world and make things easier on people. I just got my vaccination this week,
Right.
so I've got another shot to go. But I know that some people don't like vaccines, but I grew up in the 50s, and
Polio. So
kids still had polio, and the polio vaccine saved us. There were plenty of people that had TB, which was really widespread, and they would go away to convalescent home, and they got a TB shot. So I'm I respect every person's right to make their own decision, but for me, it was a no-brainer.
Leigh, you're in a world where you have to attend events and dinners and parties and things like that. And I've often wondered, for somebody that is a recovering addict, you can always, not choose to be at those things, but your business is to schmooze and interact and things like that. I'm like, how tough is that? Again, congratulations on 11 years, but that temptation, is it always there, or is it a daily battle, or, is it something
Well,
that you always overcome?
the first few months are rough because you have cravings, and the thought of alcohol goes through your mind constantly, and then magically, if you stick to the program, it disappears. So here's the point: it's all internal, based on my spiritual nature and based on my adherence to a plan. So back in the days, you could take my wallet and everything away from me, and my car, but I would find alcohol. So even if there's none around, you'll find it. And once you get to a better place, then it simply doesn't matter. I mean, it's the best analogy I can give you, but it's not addictive. Is when I'm dieting, I love pizza, but it just sort of blanks out in my mind, and it's just not my food to eat. So no, it's not a struggle. Our world is awash in alcohol, and people who have normal brains can handle it. And but I always say, if you're out there and you're struggling and you're hopeless and you're confused, have hope. There are 12-step programs with remarkable fellowships that will help you, and you can have a better life.
Well, as we wrap up, Leigh, again, thanks for joining me. Just a couple of quick questions. Have you ever gone into a negotiation and they just agreed to everything and you thought, oh, maybe we should ask for a little more?
Isn't that funny, Dave, about human nature? I've written a book on negotiating, winning with integrity, and I speak on the issue. And I always say that if the fair market value of the car is $30,000 and you go in and you make that deal easily, then the person who sold always will tell himself, could I have gotten more money for that car? And the person who's buying will always say, he would have taken less for that car. So it's just an aspect of human nature. The current salary cap negotiations for rookies, there is a little bit of negotiability, but it's taken away holdouts and everything else, because teams have a maximum they can pay for that slot, and they get to it reasonably quickly. And so you can negotiate payout and a few little things, but it fits your hypothetical.
As this is it, I just wanted to thank you. As a Boomer connection, I'm just curious, how long do you want to do this? I mean, you've been doing this forever. I know you're making an impact, but do you ever want to just relax and enjoy your kids and travel and do stuff?
Well, my kids are grown, and the time you really need to hyper focus is when they're young, because they need you. But I have great relationships with my kids, and here's the thing: I picked something to do in the world where, if I wanted to work on motion pictures, if I wanted to write best-selling books, if I wanted to write columns, if I wanted to speak, if I wanted to innovate new technology that brings fans closer to the sport, I can do it all. So I didn't. I constructed a life based on all the things that I like to do, and so I don't even view it as work. I just view it as my life's activities.
Well, we'll keep up the work, keep making the impact. And again, I know, thanks for joining this little fish in the pond here for a few minutes. I know you're busy. You're going to be heading down here, and I wish you the best of luck. I won't ask you for a prediction, so I'm not going to put you on the spot.
I can do it. I don't mind.
Okay, well, then who you got?
Kansas City,
Okay.
330.
That's a good score. Us being older, I'm leaning towards the older guy. We want us older guys to rally, but the league couldn't have fixed this to make a better outcome. I mean, this is a Hollywood story, and the outcome for either Patrick or Tom Brady, it's just beautiful for the league. It's a win-win for everybody.
Well, Dave, you may call yourself a little fish, but you got a big tail that does a lot of good for people. So thanks to you for doing what you do.
Thanks, Leigh. Leigh Steinberg joining us from Los Angeles, and I hope to see you next Super Bowl so we can hug and have a Diet Coke together and just talk about what we've been through.
Sounds great.
All right. Thank you, Leigh. This is Dave Stevens on Radio Row. This is it for the day. We've done a lot of stuff here this week, some amazing guests, and I really appreciate Leigh joining me today. You know, we've had Daryl Strawberry, we've had all kinds of guests, but it doesn't get any better than Leigh Steinberg. So from Radio Row, we're going to say goodbye for the rest of the day. We got some big things coming up tomorrow, another event with my buddy BJ Ganem. We'll be at the Dog Walk here at Ukulele Restaurant, I think, up here with Miss America and some former Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I'm looking forward to that and actually being outside and away from the emptiness of Radio Row. So I hope you've enjoyed what we've done here so far this week. It's been fun. It's been different. It's been boring. It's been long. So there's all those things at once. But again, follow us on abilitymedia.com for Quinnipiac University and what we're doing in the broadcast department. Chris Rouse, Barry Sachs, and all the people trying to make an impact for those with disabilities you can see and those that you can't see. So go to abilitymedia.com. Old people like me had Jan Stevenson in earlier today. Watch Ali Plus TV. Ali Plus, I'm going to be hosting Boomer Connections for seniors by seniors and the new show, Rock Bottom and Back. We'll have hopefully a lot of guests and a lot of cool things coming up. And the reason we're here, it's the Disability Channel. And make sure you go to our website and follow the Disability Channel on all media, disabilitychannel.ca. Giving opportunities to those with handicaps in the media. And I hope you guys will continue to support us because that's what we're doing down here. So this is Dave Stevens on Radio Row. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok. I don't even know if MySpace is out there anymore. But thanks for joining me. We will see you guys from Radio Row tomorrow morning live from the Dog Walk with BJ Ganem. This is Dave Stevens. We'll see you later.